I'm just a technical washout. Okay, I don't know, maybe I don't have something plugged in. Okay, no, it's fine. Yes, Carson. So is that a yes? Because so Ag stirs Achilles' anger, and the result, this is that, which common topic is it? Relation, what could be the consequences? With the result that they fight harder.
But they don't. He ends up sitting in a ship.
Well, he doesn't fight harder, but maybe, okay, first of all, when they come back, they do fight harder. But maybe the other ones fight harder. I mean, we're using our imagination here. Let's say maybe I'm Diomedes or I'm Odysseus. Maybe because I know Achilles is on the sidelines, maybe I'm going to give the extra oomph, you know, because they don't have their star player, and maybe they need me even more. I'm just speculating, but you know what? That's what the invention process is. We just speculate wildly because we can. Lexi, what did you want to say? Oh, yes. Here, I didn't open them yet, so I just had both of them here. While Lexi looks at hers, is there any other, like, things that you think we should mention? Matthew.
I put down, since Agamemnon's like the high king of all of them, with great power and great responsibility, it's his responsibility to look out for the army and problems that follow this rampaging army. How do we know?
Well,
so it's his responsibility, so he shouldn't have to slack off Achilles and take whatever.
Oh, okay. So Ag's responsibility is care of army. And, help me, Matthew. And so,
It's not Achilles' job to pay the price, or...
Okay. I see. So, to rescue from plague is Ag's job, not Achilles. I got it. Yes, Lexi. Mm-hmm. Okay. I agree. Okay. Makes Ag look bad, but selfish would be better. And Lexi, you said you had a third one?
Yeah, and it's not, I read in the book, he was talking to Achilles about
Okay, no, Ag already powerful. Just a second, Kyle. No need to highlight it. Okay, Kyle, which one are we talking about? Yes, it does.
it's over there, and it's over here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
So it's on the opposite side, it's already down there.
Oh, okay.
She said it.
Oh, okay.
On the other side, if he doesn't do it, it makes him look a lot powerful.
Yes, Ag looks less powerful. Hannah. Achilles needs lesson in humility. Oh! Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. Ethan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I was gonna say, sorry.
Yes,
Underneath
yes, you can.
Ag's responsibility to take care of army, like a subcategory.
Uh-huh.
Ag needs to care about Achilles' needs.
Okay, Ag, yes, because Achilles is part of the army.
Yeah.
Ag should care for Achilles' needs.
He's selfish for him to just not care about his needs at all, because Achilles was literally the hero of the story. He really basically carried the war.
Yes.
And he kind of does earn her.
Yes. So Achilles is the hero, and he needs to be. You know what? There's a reason that they play the star football players oodles of money, right? And they give them, I don't know what they give them, like cars and stuff. And a lot of sponsorships, because you want to keep them. Mm-hmm. Can we look at the arrangement now? Or Gabby, did you have one to share? Or? Yeah, go ahead. Okay. The end result of all this mess is glory to Achilles, which seems, I mean, really is his only reason for living and dying, if you know what I mean. You know, that's all he's got. That's all he's got is the glory that he has on the battlefield, which he gives up for a time, but the end result is massive glory. Yeah, Carl.
I do have something wrong with Agamemnon takes care of him.
Mm-hmm.
That's his primary responsibility. All that time taking care of his army, time taking care of his men.
Oh, he needs a maid because he's so busy. You can always use one more. Maybe they're not good cooks. Okay, this is all great. You guys are doing great. Yes, Lexi. Can't resist getting one more.
I mean, overall, it's just not right to take in from other people because they're stealing.
You know what? Everybody's probably going to see one mate, and that's Lexi's. Like, yeah, but it's his, and you can't take it away. And that's your prime argument. Do you know what I mean? And others of you might see another prime argument on either side. Could be. But we all tend to gravitate towards one. Like, but this seems more important, most important to me. Kyle.
So, I think with all of us having double perspective, with all of us having a double perspective, I feel like all of us would know, even though you could argue yes, but without the double perspective.
Yes, yes.
And
This
so
is true.
It's really hard not to lean towards no.
It is hard not to lean towards no, indeed. But I challenge maybe some of you to do the opposite. Hannah.
What I was thinking about it was like back in the day, you would lean towards yes if it was like if you brought up more history, but like now you lean towards no.
Yes.
Well,
Although, even in the poem, a lot of people tend to say no. Even at the beginning, I feel like in that big council when he was going to say, I'm going to take away, like Agamemnon, take a chill pill, because this is going to go places you don't want it to go. That's not a quote from the take a chill pill, doesn't appear. Lexi. It is. It's like a family feud. It's like the Hatfields and McCoys or something, right? Something starts and it just, without someone being humble enough to say, I was wrong, I am sorry, it just escalates to craziness. You know, till generations later and nobody even remembers what you're fighting about anymore. It's bizarre. Yeah, Hannah, did you have a comment? Oh. Okay, so I would like you guys to get your reading guide out, and we're going to look at the arrangement. Now, those of you who have done Lost Tools of Writing, I stole this partly from Lost Tools of Writing, but also added a great book called Classic Rhetoric for the Modern Student, or something by Edward Corbett, which appears to be what the makers of Lost Tools of Writing used. It's a classic text. Turn to page 123 in the back of your reading guide. We have an outline there for you. Now everybody, oh, I'm going to wait till they come back, because I was going to do an everybody look at me announcement. It's not fair when people leave and then I do an everybody look at me. This should look really familiar to you if you did Lost Tools of Writing, or basically any essay writing whatsoever. We have 6 main sections, right? The introduction and the conclusion. We are not really going to address those today because, well, this is, who is it that left? Is somebody? Oh, it's Kyle. All right, I'll wait for Kyle. Yes. Good. Good. I need like loudspeakers in the bathrooms. So wherever you are, you can hear Mrs. Ferguson. It's fine. As I could say this and I could say that, and any of it, Kyle will miss it, and then I don't want Kyle to miss it. Yes. Yeah. Well, don't go there yet. All right, because that's a poems. Those are poems by Archilochus that we're going to talk about later. So, okay, here's what we can do while we wait for Kyle. Turn the next page to page 125, and you will see sort of an amplification of the parts. I've got, what does the introduction do? And you guys know this, right? It informs your reader, gives the backstory, draws them in. Then I have the narratio. Well, what do you need to know about this story to make it make sense to the person, right? You don't need to tell the whole story. Just enough of the plot to make it make sense. And then, what point are you arguing? Then we have the confirmatio, right? The proof or reasons for your position. We're going to focus on that and the confutatio, the refutation of opposing arguments, okay? So flip back now to page 123. Now, here's the look at me announcement. All you're doing this week on this paper is making an outline. You do not need to write the paper. In fact, I'd prefer you didn't, because we're going to talk more about the writing of the paper next week. So what I would like you to do this week, your job is twofold. My job is to find my marker. What? I tell you there are some sort of little elves or something that follow me around, and they... No, that just really irritates. Oh, I threw it in my bag. Why would I throw it in my bag? Okay. The first thing I want you to do is take a piece of paper and make an outline, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you're probably going to end up leaving more space in between, but my board's only so big. Paragraph 1 is the introduction. You don't really need to do anything with that this week, okay? Paragraph 6 is the conclusion. Don't worry about that. We're going to talk about that more next week. These are the ones I want to concentrate on. This is your argument. This is the meat. This is the muscles and sinews of your argument. And this is just the bread that encloses the sandwich, you know? 3 of your paragraphs will argue for your position, right? This is why I am right and you are wrong. Maybe you shouldn't say that, but let's say it is. And then paragraph 5 is going to argue against the other side. We'll talk about that in a minute. I need 3 proofs. Now, so you lost tools of writing, people. When I start this, you're going to say, yeah, Mrs. Ferguson, we know. But not everybody knows. All right, and maybe you have forgotten. When you look at your list of ideas, is everybody with me? On your invention ideas, when you look at that list, some of your reasons are going to be very specific. Briseis irons Agamemnon's cloaks. That's a very specific reason why Agamemnon wants her. Some of our reasons sound like this. If Agamemnon doesn't do it, he will look bad. Do you see how she irons his cloaks? There's not a whole lot more I can say about that. But Agamemnon will look bad if he doesn't do it. There's a lot more I could say about that. How will he look bad? Maybe I've already written some of these down on my list because he's the authority figure. And if he fails to show authority, maybe civil dissension will break out in the camp. Maybe everybody will be after him trying to take charge. Maybe people will start ignoring orders on the battlefield. These are 3 points that actually go along with Agamemnon will look bad and lose authority. Does that make sense to everybody? Can you see this? This is more of an art than a science. So a specific reason could be, let's go to the no. Does anybody have their invention sheet out where I can just take it? And has writing that I can see? Okay. Can I just take it?
Sure.
I ask as I take it.
Yeah.
Can I just take this? I don't even wait for a response. Okay, so, okay, so I'm scanning.
I'm sorry.
Okay, no, you're fine. I'm just looking for a very general one. Okay, one of his no's. It makes Agamemnon look like a bad king. Now, I feel like we could say more about that. In fact, I'm looking at his list and it says it was stealing. Well, stealing makes you look like a bad king, doesn't it? He says he already gets most of the treasure. It makes you look bad when you already, it's bad enough when you need it and you take it, but when you don't need it and you take it, it's really bad. And it's taking back a present. So do you see what I did with Alex Page? I found one that was very general. It will make him look bad. And I actually found 3 more that were specific, and they're ways that they make him look bad. Here's what I'm going to do with those ways. Proof 1. Ag will look bad. Now here's what I'm going to do with my outline. I'm going to try to come up with 3 ways this makes him look bad. Either from my notes, my invention chart that I already did, or maybe something new will occur to me as I go through this process. So he's stealing. He already has enough. He, what was the third thing I said? Say, what? Okay, it's greedy. Now, I need to do that 2 more times, right? And arguing the same side. So I'm arguing no in this case, obviously. So I need to find another reason no. I'm going to go with it's bad for Briseis. Why is it bad? She loves Achilles. She's all settled in. She will miss her other slave girlfriends. Does everybody, I know for some of you it's like, yes, Mrs. Ferguson, we've done this a million times. But if you haven't, does everybody understand the process here? I'm looking for something broad, and then I'm looking for 3 specifics to back it up. So that's the first thing you're going to do this week. You're going to find 3 broad reasons for the side you've chosen and come up with 3 supports for each one of them. Yes?
So we need to like, but we don't need it, so we're just making an outline.
Yes.
So we can just like type that.
Yes.
So we can get
You know what, I would love for you to bring the outline, because then if you're not sure, if you would like me to look at it and say, is this what you mean, Mrs. Ferguson? I'll look at it and say yes, or I'll look at it and say, oh, why don't we tweak this? We need to change this a little before you write it. All right? So some of you, you've done this before and you're just like, I'm good, just let me go, I can do it. And some of you, you know what, I would really like someone to look at, even if you've done it before, you still might like somebody to look at it. We can do that next week, okay? So that's the first thing you're gonna do. The second thing you're gonna do is I would like you to look at your chart and I would like you to pick 2 arguments from the other side.
Yeah, I love that part.
So I'm arguing no. Say I'm arguing no. No, because he'll look bad. No, because poor Briseus. No, because it leads to the deaths of all these people, okay? I've argued no. Now I've got to look at the yes side. Ag is the high king. That's a yes. Now I've got to figure out why I don't agree with that. Some people say Agamemnon has a right to do it because he is the high king. But I say even kings are subject to law, right? Some people may say that Agamemnon should take Briseus because Achilles was being a jerk and he mouthed off to him.
Yeah.
But I say Achilles is their star player, and I feel like you give your star players a little more latitude, a little more leeway, and it's the part of the high king to be the bigger man, you know, and gloss over misunderstandings. Do you see what I've done? I've picked 2 arguments for the other side, and I've said why I don't agree with them. Yes?
When you said, that's true, but like when I say stuff like that, I just see it if I was being a jerk and I'm not, then Achilles has the right.
Right. That mouthing off doesn't give you the right to break the rules, does it? So that's the idea. These were just examples. You don't have to use these because maybe you'll be arguing the yes side and then you'll have to refute the no side. But this is what your outline's going to look like. You're going to write, don't worry about the introduction and the conclusion this week. Don't worry. Come up with 3 main proofs for the side you're arguing and 3 supports for each one of those. And then pick 2 arguments from the other side and knock them down. And the better you can knock them down, the better. The better you can knock them down, the better. So you could, if you just went nuts on this, you could put an argument from the other side and you could have 3 refuting points for each of their arguments. You know, you could just go crazy with it if you feel, like Lexi feels strongly about, you know, the injustice of the whole thing, of doing it to him when you wouldn't want it done to you, and you could just go crazy with that. You could just put it out there. But try to come up with 2 arguments from the side you don't agree with, and then explain for each of them why you don't agree with it, why anyone who thinks that is wrong. But you don't have to write the whole thing out, right? We're just jotting down ideas in an outline, so that the ideas are out of our brain and we can hold on to them, and then later when we go to write, it's like, I had a brilliant idea against that argument and I didn't write it down and now it's gone. Is everybody feel like we know what we're doing? You feel like you can do that? Bring your outline back and I will be very happy to look at anybody and everybody's outline. Yes, the whole thing we've been doing right here. Yes, but, and I'll say this again when Lexi comes back. And you've got the outline form back here, but you probably won't need it. I mean, this is pretty easy to remember. That would not be much practice in writing, would it? If all you did was an outline, that would be sad. Because you just wouldn't get to, I'm not mean. I am very benevolent. You know what, I'm just going to say, I have students on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you know, and I told them, we were doing this, and I said, you know, all those kids that go to classical conversations, they force them to do 30 on each, is it 30 on each side? And they're all like, oh, Mrs. Ferguson, you're so nice. I know, don't forget it. Because I think that seems a little extreme to me. Like you have to do a lot of very petty little, you know, it seems like a little silly. But so that's why I don't do that. You did get a break. I didn't make you do 30, did I? You did get a break. So here's what you're going to do this week also. You're going to write another summa. Oh, I like the applause. I'll wait till Lexi comes back and I'll launch the topic on you. You know, we all make mistakes, don't we? He overachieved. He wrote more than he was, well, he wrote something else, I guess. He didn't write more.
No, I didn't.
Oh, it's okay. I'm very thirsty. Well, I'm waiting for Lexi to come back. Okay, so here's what you're going to do for your summa. Lexi, I was just telling them that it would be very sad if all you had to do was write an outline, and it would be just tragic if you didn't get to write a paragraph too. So, here is your topic. This is for something new and refreshing, and totally your opinion. By the way, because of time constraints, I'm not going to ask you to give your opinion out loud on this right now, because this happened yesterday and we lost like half our class time. Why do we not write epic poems today? That's the topic. Why do we not write epic poems? That's what you're going to write a paragraph about. Why do you think there's nobody out there writing epic poetry today? Keep your ideas to yourself. I'm sure you already have ideas, and you're like, I want to say, but why don't we talk about it at the beginning of next time?
Question.
Okay.
Would a long book be an epic poem?
This is exactly the same question that happened yesterday.
Okay.
So I am actually thinking actual poetry. We discussed yesterday that the fact that the Lord of the Rings trilogy and perhaps Dune, because there is a new movie about to be released, the Dune books, is epic in scale, but it's not written as poetry.
Okay.
So let's narrow it to epic actual poetry, not just epic scale.
Nothing.
That's something somebody said yesterday too. And I said, you could write an epic poem about 9/11. It would be an awesome epic poem. And there'd be like scenes on the different planes and the people doing, you know, the epic things do happen. I'm sorry, what? Yes, Lexi.
I mean, there's not like epic, but I was just gonna say, my uncle, he's an and they were working for a month, and it was just a week ago, and he was learning on Iliad with me, and he was so like into it that he went and got his own set, and like he does it's really cool that
I would love to meet him someday.
and he, like, my grandpa passed away like 2 years ago, but my grandpa actually made a really good song, and they sang it at his funeral, and then also my uncle, he also made a poem about my grandpa taking on really close to him. I mean, like, he's not
That's cool. No, but you don't have to be famous to be an epic poem. You know, some fame is just accident. Let's be honest. If Homer hadn't been picked up and been taught to school kids and all the manuscripts had been lost, we'd never know about him. Think of the number of authors through history that we just don't happen to have any of their stuff left. Do you know, I'm breaking my own rule. This is the last comment on this. Of all the plays that were written for all the productions of plays in Athens, we only have a little more than 30 of them. This went on like a dozen plays every year. We have 30 left. All the rest of them are gone. They're destroyed. We know of their existence because other people talk about them. Maybe Aristotle will throw out a couple of lines, as Euripides says in his play, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, nice. We don't have that play. Wish I had that play. Okay. So that is your question. Why do you think we don't have epic poets today? That's it. Okay. Art of the week is a sarcophagus. A stone sarcophagus from Crete. It's called the Hagia Triada sarcophagus. And it is from probably the year 1400 BC. So probably, if the Trojan War really happened, probably around the time it was happening or slightly before. It's a fresco. We're going to talk about frescoes. You plaster a wall, and while the plaster is still wet, you paint on it. And the paint soaks into the plaster and dries into the plaster and makes this sort of muted watercolor looking, you know, not super bright, but kind of a pale, I don't know, I can't think of the word that I want. Yeah, dull. Yes. Yes. Cool. Did you just go this summer? Oh, okay. I know a group of students that went this summer, is why I asked. Yes, Lexi.
We went to but they had different things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, like, we didn't actually do all this together.
Mm-hmm.
We had a little bowl of plates or whatever, and we did this.
Yes, yes. I did this with my kids. I made plaster of Paris and dumped it into a tray, and as it was just hard enough but not dry yet, you know, we painted on it. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it up here for you to look more closely if you want. Just note, these are the people living in Crete. We're gonna talk more about these people next week. They liked swirly designs, and all their people look sort of the same. Apparently they think it's some sort of religious procession. We have people carrying bowls and carrying stuff, and we have some sort of animals being brought to a priest or something over here. But there's a guy right here, and he's holding what appears to be a lyre, you know, like a harp. And they say it's the oldest artistic representation of a lyre that we have. 1400 BC. I mean, they talk about him, but it's the oldest picture of one, oldest painting of one. Yes. It could be. You know, so archaeologists are very fond of calling everything a religious procession. And everything is religious. Everything has ceremonial whatever. It's like, yeah. Remember those weird dolls? Those Cycladic statues with no faces? Oh, fertility figurines. Or some little girl's doll. We really don't know. They're really fond of everything being religious. It's kind of a joke in those circles. Okay, let's take a look at our questions on page 17. The first one we already answered, didn't we? Why does Briseis weep for Patroclus? Because he was kind. And we might have heard a female voice there, but I hope you're getting a vibe that in this poem, there doesn't seem to be a lot of kindness, does there? Kindness seems to be lacking. So in the world of this poem, when someone says he was kind, you know, when they bury their fallen comrade warriors, they don't say things over the funeral like, oh, he was so kind. Like, that's not, yeah, he killed a boatload of people. He was so tough. Not, he was so nice. What a kind person. We don't care. But Briseis says he was kind. I didn't ask a question about this, but I would like to note, Achilles comes out of retirement, shall we say, after his massive scream that we talked about at the end of book 18, and the flames that flies out of his head or whatever. And he comes back, and they have a meeting because they gotta make up now. Achilles and Agamemnon have to make up. And Achilles says, I'm on page 490, if you want to look, but you don't have to, it's fine, you can just listen to me. Enough. This is Achilles talking. Let bygones be bygones. Done is done. Despite my anguish, I will beat it down, this fury mounting inside me, down by force. Now, by God, I call a halt to all my anger. It's wrong to keep on raging, heart inflamed forever. Now, I do have a question for you. Do the next couple of chapters seem like you're meeting a guy who has beaten down all his anger? He seems kind of angry still to me. Yeah, and everybody else who gets in my way, right? Like prairie dogs, groundhogs, squirrels. I'm killing you all of you dead. Fish, I'm stabbing fish in that river, you know? He's on a rampage to the point where he fights a river god. The river god's like, oh, Achilles, will you please stop dumping dead bodies in my river because I'm having trouble flowing? Like, deal with it.
Yeah, he's so mean.
What? Oh my gosh. He's still an angry man. So, you know, if this is Achilles after he's beaten down his anger, like, I don't want to meet him in the dark alley when he's angry, because that's nasty. Yes? He does. He does mean that, but he holds it, doesn't he? He just moves it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially when your horse tells you. Just FYI. You know, when he says, hey, horse, don't let me get killed like you let Patroclus get killed. And the horse says, yeah, you know, it wasn't really our fault. It was just fate. You're like, shut up, I know. That's my version of his conversation with the horse. It's pretty accurate, you know. I'll find it. I'll find it, Alex. Hang on, I'll get there. But before I go on, so I agree with Naya completely. He displaces, he shifts his anger, right, to a place that's going to be fruitful for him, for what he wants to accomplish. But here, this kills me. This is Agamemnon's response. Next, what I just read is down here. This is on the next page, okay?
So wait, what page?
I'm on page 491. I am on line 100 of book 19. Agamemnon says, but I am not to blame. What? 491, line 100. This is Agamemnon. He's given a little speech. He's like, yeah, no more fighting between us, blah, blah, blah. And then on line 100 he says, but I am not to blame. Zeus and fate and the fury stalking through the night. They are the ones who drove that savage madness in my heart. That day in assembly when I seized Achilles' prize, on my own authority, true. But what could I do? A god impels all things to their fulfillment. Ruin, eldest daughter of Zeus, she blinds us all. In other translations, sometimes ruin, folly, delusion, that's how they translate it. What does Agamemnon never say? Salt. In the whole poem. But, yeah, I did it, but it's not my fault. But ruin, but fate, but Zeus, but it's all their fault. My fault. Wow. Oh, I know. Just say it, Agamemnon. So you know what? You could use that in your outlines, I guess, in your paper. This is another. Zeus should do it because Zeus and the fates made him do it. He didn't have a choice. Okay. So, hey guys, I know. I'm glad we're so excited. We have a lot to say about it. It's the problem that this room is so echoey and everything. I wish we could go back upstairs. I really do. Didn't you like upstairs better? I did too. I don't know why they made. Yeah, climbing to carry all my junk up there, but it was worth it. Maybe if we all banded together. Do you know if they're using that room for something else this year?
Yeah, because the first day I went upstairs because I thought this class was up there, and I looked in, and there was just all the little kids, and they all looked at me.
Oh.
This is not the right room, is it?
Suddenly, the little kids are going to read the Iliad this year. We're just going to mix it up. Okay, okay. Because it just seems like this is a big class, and we would like, okay, no, it's fine. We can deal with it, right? We can learn not to be so loud. Okay, well, my junior high, I have 15. I have 15 junior high kids in here. Okay, it's fine, it's fine. But we just need to remember when we have our little conversations at the table, they're really audible. Okay, so later on in book 19, Achilles has his armor, right? He's got armor. And here's what happens on page 500. First, he wrapped his legs with the well-made greaves, fastened behind his heels with silver ankle clasps. Next, he strapped the breastplate round his chest. Then over his shoulder, Achilles slung his sword, the fine bronze blade with its silver-studded hilt. Then hoisted the massive shield, flashing far and wide like a full round moon. Okay, it goes on. We've seen this before, right? But this is the one. This is the guy. He's arming for battle, and this is going to be the doozy. And it is a doozy because the whole river battle and Hector's going down. Yes? I don't know. I mean, iron is stronger than bronze, but what is your question? Like, are you thinking bronze is too weak a metal to make a sword out of? Okay. Well, maybe they tempered it, you know, because like, isn't copper just bronze and tin? Copper, no. Bronze is copper and tin. I don't know, but apparently it was strong enough to do something, Carson. Okay. Yes, it shattered against his helmet. Yes. Shh. Guys, can we just have one person?
Yeah, so eventually because, well, that wasn't possible back in the time because bronze is stronger than copper and tin, but eventually at some point it will break because it's really that strong.
Yeah.
They haven't really gotten that iron.
So that's a good point. When we see all these episodes where, and he struck and his sword shattered. Yeah. So apparently this happens. Just hold on to it, Kyle. Just as a note though, remember I told you that Homer is, whoever Homer was, is probably writing several hundred years after this happened. Homer is writing about the Bronze Age and living in the Iron Age. And so it's kind of weird because sometimes it's in the Odyssey too. Sometimes they have iron-tipped spears, but then they have bronze. He's writing between. Sometimes Homer's writing about stuff he has. Sometimes he's writing about stuff they had. I don't know. Maybe you could do some research on the strength of bronze swords and report to it. I really don't know. That is a really good question, and I don't know. Kyle.
So, we were looking at this, yeah, you have to, like, we kind of have mixture, like, they didn't make it all pure.
Yes.
So they have, like, different irons and such in there.
Yes.
And so some swords might be strong enough, and some might, that's like some break enough, some don't. Some might have some iron mixed in, some other metals
So
mixed in.
this is a good place where we just accept. Do you know what I mean? I mean, not that you shouldn't look into it, but sometimes when we read fiction, there's things we accept. Okay, they have bronze swords. Got it. Moving on. but still it maybe sparks questions. Achilles sets out. Do you remember a couple weeks ago I asked you, hey guys, a couple weeks I asked you, who's in charge, Zeus or Fate? You know? So he says this. Zeus says to all the gods, remember he told them stay out of it. Now he's like, go down there and just fight. Go down there and help. Because if Achilles fights the Trojans unopposed by us, not for a moment will they hold his breakneck force. I fear he'll raise the walls against the will of fate. You all need to go down there and fight because Achilles is still angry, just at someone else, and he's going to go on a rampage, and he might go against fate. It's one of those weird, if it's fate, how do you go against? I don't understand. So he says to the gods, go down there and fight. Weirdly, did you notice they do almost nothing?
Yeah.
Like one of them, what is it? It's somebody versus Poseidon. And he says, oh, I don't want to fight you. You're my uncle.
No, isn't it Aeneas?
Well, yeah, there's that, but it's two gods. Because the gods all line up on opposite sides, and they go against each other. And they don't really do anything. Which, you know, if you're all immortal.
I don't know what they're thinking.
Yes, yes. Apparently. Yeah, but he just goes up that one, let's not fight because you're my uncle. And besides says, well, I'm glad to see you show such good sense. Let's just go have a seat there and see how things turn out. Well, thank you so much for helping with the battle. What?
Plus, it's not like they can hurt each other.
No, they can't. Alex, over there, you had something. So they go down, but, oh yeah, Lexi. They do. She did throw a fit. But, you know, they go down there, and so we have this war on a cosmic scale, and I think that's why, you know, Homer is showing us that it's not just people, you know, the universe. We have this moment where it says Zeus thunders, and Poseidon shakes the earth, and Hades, Lord of the Dead, is afraid that, like the wall, the roof of Hades, you know, the land is going to break open and everybody's going to see the land of the dead. It's like world war, but it's universe war. And everybody's involved, all because of Achilles' rage. In book 20, I asked you, why does Poseidon save Aeneas? What is his destiny? Okay, Alex, what do you got?
I mean, these passages were kind of hard to follow.
Okay.
Because it was a lot of words, but I read that he was innocent, and that like Poseidon thought he was innocent, so.
Okay. Yeah, Matthew. Okay, he's got a destiny. Here's what it says. Yes, he always gave us gifts to warm our hearts, gifts for the gods who rule the vaulting skies. So come, let us rescue him from death ourselves. For fear the son of Cronus might just tower in rage if Achilles kills this man. He is destined to survive. So the generation of Dardanus, he's the founder of Troy, will not perish, obliterated without an heir, without a trace. He has come to, Aeneas will rule the men of Troy in power, his sons' sons, and the sons born in future years. So yes, he's innocent. He gives us all the sacrifices that we ask for, plus he's got a destiny. From other literature, what is Aeneas' destiny? Found Rome. The Romans took this line and trace their lineage back to an escaping Aeneas, escaping from the burning walls of Troy, leading his little son by the hand and carrying his dad on his back to found a new place where they're going to be Trojan, but they're not only going to be Trojan, they're going to mix with the Latin people and be a brand new race of people that's going to rule the world. It's kind of cool. That's next year. We get to read the Aeneid. Yes?
You know, to see like hundreds of people becoming renowned heroes and destinies that the gods will even respect. And I would hate to be one of those like little soldiers who like in movies are the guys who die. And I would hate to be one of those guys in the background.
Yeah. The Expendables, like the Star Trek guys. What color? If you have a red shirt, whatever, you know, when they go down to the planet, you're going to die. Okay, Spock isn't going to die, and Bones isn't going to die. You're going to die. You're the expendable guy. Yeah, it's a bummer to be the expendable guy. Yeah, the extras are going to die. I want to skip. We're running low on time, and there's some things I want to highlight. Let's just pop through the next couple of questions. How does Andromache hear of Hector's death? Anybody but, no offense, anybody but Alex. That's a mean thing to say. Matthew. She hears the crying of the women, the shouts, and she says, oh no. There's only one reason they'd send up shouts that loud. I think he's gone. By the way, after Hector dies, what does Achilles do with him? Yeah, Alex. Yes, dragging it in the dust. Remember I told you this is bad form. Don't disrespect the body.
Maybe he could have lived if he didn't do that. Like, if he had just
Maybe.
Hector and then respectfully told him, like, oh, Hector, well, wait, no, I didn't take his arm. But, like, you know, in a sense, he slapped his body. So, like, he would have gotten his revenge, but it would have been seen, like, as just because it was kind of an eye for an eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because he disrespected his body so much, maybe that's why he died.
He does push it over the edge, doesn't it? I mean, it's an understandable thing. Now, I want to mention something. So the moment that Achilles faces Hector, Hector who gets set up by the gods, if you didn't notice, Athena sets him up and pretends to be, you know, his brother, cousin, whatever he is, Deiphobus. Oh, here, I'll come hold your... No, I won't. I'm one of the gods and I'm going to disappear. So Achilles and Hector are facing down. I want you to think for a moment. Achilles is looking at Hector. What does he see? Yes. What does he see on the outside of Hector? His own armor. Hector took Achilles' armor off of Patroclus. And what? And Hector's wearing it. He put it, yes. Okay, so yeah, I mean, picture that. I mean, that sets him off. So problem number one, I see him. I think two things. What did Patroclus look like the last time Achilles saw him alive? He was wearing that armor. So the first thing I see is, oh, you killed my friend, and the last time I said goodbye to him, he was wearing that. Second of all, though, this is kind of a little more like ethereal, esoteric. Achilles knows, right? The horse told him, his mom has told him, short life and great glory. And just a second, and the death of Hector is going to be sort of the last block that gets put into place, and your life's going to end soon. When Achilles kills Hector, he's killing the man in his own armor. It's like he's killing himself. Do you see? Like that's the moment. Like when I kill you, it's the last event of my life. and the hourglass is just, saying, pouring out of the hourglass for me. Because, Patroclus prophesied it, and the horse prophesied it. Soon after Hector's death, it's your turn, Achilles. And so he kills that man wearing his armor. He's next. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool detail. Homer doesn't mention it, but you got to think about it and think, wait a minute. He's looking at his own armor. He's looking at himself. It's very cool. Yes. He. So in book 23, we have funeral games. And I just asked you, this is kind of a broad question. What kind of things are involved in the funeral rites? Tell me something, Alex. What do they do? In the funeral rites for Patroclus. Okay, lots of food. Carson.
Yeah.
Yes, because they sacrificed 12 Trojan captives. He promised Patroclus, I will bring back 12 Trojan, soldiers and slit their throats over your grave. Nice. Lexi, what else did they do? Yes, so they had athletic events. It sounds like Achilles is using his own stuff. That would be, yeah. This is true. And it would be kind of a nice souvenir. I like that idea. Alex, what else are they doing?
The first thing they do is he sends the entire army into the forest and cuts down. It doesn't even say like limitless amounts of lumber.
Yes, lots of trees.
And they make a big pile of it and they set Patroclus on top. And then each of the soldiers cuts a bit of their own hair and then tosses it onto Patroclus. I mean, I would find that disgusting even if I was him.
Oh, what is up?
And then Achilles comes up last, cuts off his hair.
Yes. We were talking about this yesterday. Like, what's the point of the hair? But we didn't decide anything really, but we speculated that it's like, it's a sacrifice, something you give up, but it's a renewable, so it's like death and rebirth. You cut your hair, but it comes back. I don't know, we got very out there yesterday, apparently. So something interesting happens during these athletic events. The Patrolympics. Or Patroclus. So they're having a chariot race. And, you got to ride out and then go around a mark and then come back. And it's far enough that they can't really see very well. And two guys, it's little Ajax and Idomeneus, are arguing. Well, I think so-and-so is coming back. And I'm like, no, it's not them. It's his chariot. Can't you see? And it says, now the two of them might have come to blows if Achilles himself had not stood up to calm them. Enough. No more trading your stinging insults now. Ajax, Idomeneus, it's offensive. This is not the time. You'd be the first to blame a man who railed this way. Sit down and watch the horses. They'll be home in a moment. Then each can see for himself who's first, who's second. Okay, hold that thought, because in a few other pages, we have an argument about, do you remember Antilochus, who is Nestor's son, cuts someone off. That was the chariot race, wasn't it? Cuts someone off I don't know, in one of the races, horse race. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In one of the races, he cuts in front, and he changes, and the guy who's first gets fouled and gets out of the running, and the details are not important. But do you remember kind of the episode that the race was going a certain way, and Antilochus fouled it up, and he gets home, and it gets back to the finish line, and the guy who had won first, they want to take the mare that's to him and give it to someone else because he should have come in first, whatever. And Antilochus says, I won't give up the mare. The one who wants her, step this way and try. He'll have to fight me for her with his fists. Hey, you're gonna take it. I won this play. I get the mare. Sound familiar? I won't give up the girl. I won't give up the mare. Now, listen to this. The swift runner Achilles smiled, delighting in Antilochus. He liked the man immensely. He answered him warmly, winged words. Antilochus, you want me to fetch an extra gift from my tents, a consolation prize for Eumelus? I'm glad to do it. I'll give him the breastplate I took from Asteropaeus. It's solid bronze with a glittering overlay of tin, ring on rings, a gift he'll value highly. And when did Achilles become the peacemaker? Is he purged? Do you know, like that anger? Like maybe that's kind of I mean, it's a possibility. It's kind of a fatalistic possibility, but it is definitely a possibility. I just don't care anymore.
We just won the war.
Yeah, like it dishonors Patroclus. If you cause a row at his funeral, fighting at funerals is never really good for him, I feel like, in any society. But it is interesting that Achilles steps up to calm things down. And you know what? The calm is catching because Antilochus backs down. And he says, no, because Menelaus steps up now. And he says, Antilochus, you cut me off, and your prize should be mine. Antilochus says, no more, please. I'm much younger than you are, Lord Menelaus. You're my senior. You're the greater man. Well, you know how the whims of youth break all the rules. And he says, I'll give you anything. You can have my prize. The charity is catching. And then, at the very end of book 23, this is the craziest moment. Agamemnon gets up for the spear throwing contest. And apparently Agamemnon is really good with the spear throwing because nobody wants to get up to challenge him. And it says, so nobody gets up, and here's what Achilles says to him. Atrides, well, we know how far you excel us all. No one can match your strength at throwing spears. You're the best by far. Take first prize and return to the hollow ships. He says to Agamemnon, now, after all the wrangling, here's what I postulate. Achilles is great on the battlefield in hand-to-hand combat and just sheer brute strength. Apparently Agamemnon is really good at throwing spears. Teucer is good at hiding behind his brother Big Ajax's shield, and shooting arrows. Big Ajax is just big. All right? That they each have their strengths, And when we pit our strengths against each other, it's just disaster. But we've got a society building here. It's kind of cool to see it happening, where Atrides, Agamemnon, you're good at throwing spears. You take first prize. It's almost like that anger is really, and whether whether the fatalistic reason is true, and he's just sort of doesn't care anymore, or whether something is changing in him. However, it hasn't completely changed because at the beginning of book 24, we see that that Achilles can't sleep. The memories flooded over him, live tears flowing, and now he'd lie on his side, now flat on his back, now face down again. Haven't we all had those nights? Now I lay on this side, now I lay on that side, now I lay on my back. I can't sleep. Something's bothering me. And then he'd go down to the beach and wander. Then he'd yoke his racing team to the chariot harness, lash the corpse of Hector behind the car for dragging, and haul him 3 times around the dead Patroclus' tomb. He's still wounded, isn't he? I'm sure I just knocked my microphone. I mean, something is hurt inside him. We're not quite done with it. So I asked you, why does Priam go to Achilles, and how does he get there safely? Okay, Alex, do it. You weren't ready. That's okay.
To retrieve Hector's body.
Yes, but why does he decide to do it now? Like, what convinces him he should go?
Iris.
Yes, the god. I'm sorry, Carson. Yes. So visitation from the gods. And he gets there safely because of the gods, right? Because Hermes leads him. And this interested me. I didn't notice the first several times I read the Iliad, and then this jumped out at me. Thetis comes to Achilles and says, you've got to give his body back. The gods have decided you give the body back. And the swift runner replied in haste, so be it. The man who brings the ransom can take away the body like that. So be it. He doesn't argue. He doesn't have a problem with it. But it's mine. No, I will never give him back. The vultures and dogs will lead him raw, and I'm going to feed him to sea creatures, and I'm going to, after I'm done dragging him around for the next 10 years, and none of that. So be it. And the thing that popped out at me is, had Achilles already decided it was enough? Can't prove this. This is just my wondering. He agrees awfully fast. And it's not bringing him comfort anymore, is it? Because it doesn't bring Patroclus back. I can drag that guy around behind my chariot from now till doomsday, and it doesn't bring Patroclus back. And it's enough. So Priam comes, and there is the heart-breaking... Okay. Oh, no, I'm not. I thought I was on the right page, but I'm not. But I gave it a big build-up, and then I just... The majestic king of Troy slipped past the rest, and kneeling down beside Achilles, clasped his knees and kissed his hands, those terrible man-killing hands that had slaughtered Priam's many sons in battle. Awesome, as when the grip of madness seizes one who murders a man in his own fatherland and flees abroad to foreign shores, to a wealthy noble host, and a sense of marvel runs through all who see him. So Achilles marveled, beholding majestic Priam. Achilles marvels at Priam like a man marvels at somebody who killed someone in their fatherland and ran away. But Priam's in his own fatherland, and he didn't kill anybody. It's his son who got killed. It's one of those mixed up similes. Achilles is the guy who came to somebody else's homeland and murdered them. And he kneels down and he says, I have endured what no one on earth has ever done before. I put my lips to the hands of the man who killed my son. And Achilles loses it. Because Priam says, remember your father. You have a father. And it says, Priam cries for Hector, and Achilles cries for his own father. Why does Achilles cry for his own father? His own father's still alive. What do you think, Kyle? His father's going to be like Priam. His father's going to lose his son too. And they sit there and cry together. And I like to think that the wound is healed. Maybe not completely, but something inside Achilles is healed. Now, it's short term. And I asked you, how does it end? How does this poem end? And so they buried Hector, and so was the funeral of Hector, breaker of horses. Boom. What do you think, if there were a book 25, how would book 25 begin? Well, how do you think it would be? What's the first thing, what happens next, the day after the funeral? Hey, Alex, I'm going to cut you off just for your time. But yeah, the war starts again. That's what I'm looking for. More war. The war's not done. We took a break for the funeral, but everybody reading this poem knows the war goes on. The war goes on. It's kind of depressing. Now, stick with me. I know it's time for lunch, but just give me a few minutes, okay? Alex was noticing this earlier. Alex, on my right Alex versus left Alex. In the next page, week 5, there are some poems, just fragments, epigrams that we have from a poet named Achilles. You can read those and we'll look at them next week. They're not difficult to understand. They tend to be somewhat humorous. But this is an actually historical poet. Like Homer is sort of the distant reaches of time we don't know. This guy we know, roughly 650 BC. You're going to start reading the Odyssey this week. You're going to read the first 6 books of the Odyssey. And the Odyssey is one of many nostos stories. The plural is nostoi, and it means the returns. Specifically, the returns from Troy. Not everybody returns, right? Achilles doesn't return. Patroclus doesn't return. Big Ajax doesn't return because he commits suicide. No, Big Ajax commits suicide. We'll follow it up later, okay? Little Ajax rapes a priestess in, I think it might be Cassandra, in one of the temples, and the gods get really mad at him, and they shipwreck him, and he dies on the way home. So there's a lot of people that never make it home. Menelaus has some journeys that we're going to hear about in the Odyssey, actually. We're going to meet Menelaus and Helen. They're back home in Sparta. Everything's hunky-dory, believe it or not. Living together happily as man and wife. What? Agamemnon, dead as soon as he gets home. Does everybody know the story of Agamemnon? No, don't tell it. I want to know, does everybody know the story?
Yeah.
Okay, Alex doesn't. You need to, let me tell it briefly, okay, because you need to hear. Agamemnon's wife has been fooling around with Agamemnon's cousin, Aegisthus, while he's been gone. And they hatch a plot to kill Agamemnon when he gets home. Oh, I know. I like that look. So, what? Agamemnon sacrificed their daughter, Iphigenia, to get a favorable wind. And Clytemnestra, his wife, has been holding on to this for 10 years. And she hatches a plot with her lover, Aegisthus, to put an end to Agamemnon. We're going to revisit this story later. We're going to read a whole series of plays about it. And then their son, Orestes, comes and kills the mother, Clytemnestra, for killing his dad. We'll follow up on that later. But the reason I bring it up is because the nostos we're going to read about is Odysseus' return home. And the question in the Odyssey is, when Agamemnon came home, he found an unfaithful, murderous wife. What is Odysseus going to find when he gets home? Is it going to be another Clytemnestra, or is it not? By the way, we use this term, nostalgia. You know, the algia part means a sickness, like neuralgia is nerve pain. Nostalgia is pain for coming home. It's pain for return. That's literally what it means. It's homesickness. So when we're nostalgic about something, It's like being homesick. Okay, so last recap. Books 1 through 6 of the Odyssey. By the way, you will find the Odyssey a much easier read than the Iliad. So if the Iliad was challenging, the Odyssey is easier and more lively. If the Iliad wasn't challenging, the Odyssey is still going to be easier and less challenging. You are going to write me a paragraph on why you think we don't write epic poems anymore. And you're also going to prepare an outline on our issue of did Agamemnon do the right thing? And bring it back if you want me to inspect it. Any questions? Awesome. Have a great week. And now.